Alright folks, how's it going? I just thought I'd give an update. We're in the new tax year, so I thought I'd give you an update. I'll start off with a performance update. I haven't done a unitisation recently, but I did one on the 31st of March. So this is kind of before the recovery we've been having today and very recently really. As you can see, I've done a lot worse than than the three life strategies there. On the 31st of March from the 31st of January, I was down 4.39%, and yeah, all of those were a lot better off. I've actually, because of that bad performance, I've fallen behind all of them since the 6th of October, and obviously my usual disclaimer, my performance since 2017 has been horrific, as you can see there. So what's happened since my last update on my act? Alright, my dividends, this is up until yesterday. So in those 2 months and a week, I've paid myself £1,951 in dividends. It's the beginning of the tax year, so I did as much as I could yesterday because I knew things were down, weren't they? And obviously they're recovering today, but things were down, so I figured I'd get as much as I could done on the 7th of April. And obviously on the 1st of April, I got as much of GSK as I could into my Trading 212 ISA as well, because obviously I just had cash left over in my Trading 212 ISA, so I did as much as I could before the end of the tax year. We can see here that I managed to use £2,492 of my capital gains tax allowance, so I was still below it, but obviously I didn't have any more cash in the ISA to use, so I just did the best I could. Kind of a blessing in disguise really, because obviously I could get more in because everything was down. I could get more in at the end of the tax year, so that's what I did there. And then the other thing, I forgot to mention it on the last video I made. I forgot to mention that I had done a transfer of my SIP from AJ Bell to Freetrade. Because I found out, they're free, but they apparently recently they became free for all of the things. I think there was a lot bigger limitations on their kind of basic plan, and relatively recently now everything has become free. I think you have to pay a higher FX fee, which I wouldn't be doing anyway because I'm not buying foreign shares. By having the basic plan with Freetrade, you have to pay higher FX fees, and I think you get less interest on your cash than the other plans. As far as I can tell, they're the only things that would cost money if I wanted to pay for it. The transfer was pretty easy, to be honest. It just kind of happened without any input from me. Yeah, so here's my SIP, which is yeah, it only has a few holdings, but yeah, now I can do everything. All of the transactions in the SIP are now free, and obviously AJ Bell has like a 0.25% kind of percentage fee as well per year, so obviously it saves a nice bit of money there. I don't think there is any alternative to the LISA, so I still have to pay the fees in the LISA because I don't know of any free alternatives, to be honest. But I mean, a pleasant surprise on this, I decided to move it, and then as I was doing it, I saw that they were offering 1% cashback on it as well. So I should be getting like, I think I estimated about 240 quid I'll be getting because of this transfer. But I think you have to wait till like the end of the year. You kind of have to prove that you're not going to disappear within a couple of months before they give you the cashback. But yeah, it's okay. I mean, and the other thing, I was expecting you to be able to do fractional shares in here, but it turns out you can't, so that's a bit annoying. But what it does do also is it makes the moves I make each year, because obviously all I do with this account is I buy something once a year with the 3,600 quid I put into my SIP, and that's it. But normally what that means is I have to put the 2,880 in, wait a few weeks, maybe even 7 weeks, and then I can buy it all in one go, so I don't waste £5 each time, because the trading costs were £5 in AJ Bell. But now that it's free, I can just do it in 2 goes. I can do 2 buys separately, which is what I've done. So that's one of the things I've done, is I moved as much as I could of Acqui into the SIP from the GIA, the Invest account in Trading 212. So yeah, I did as much as that as I could. That's when I discovered that actually there's no fractional shares for UK shares here. Apparently for American shares, I think you can do fractional shares. So yeah, with this account, there's going to be little bits of cash left over in it, but at least it doesn't cost me anything to purchase anything. So like, if the cash levels go slightly above anything I could buy, I can do it without it cost me a fiver, which is nice. But yeah, it was a little bit surprising to see that Freetrade doesn't do fractional shares. So what I had to do was I had to do the purchase first here. Well, I didn't have to, but just for neatness, I did the purchase here of Acqui, and then I went to Trading 212 and sold the exact amount that I'd bought here. So by doing it the other way around, I could take advantage of Trading 212's fractional shares, and then it's an exact number. So there's no like, I haven't taken any out or added any money to the portfolio. I've just bought and sold the exact same amount. But yeah, it was, apart from that, it was perfectly fine. Seems pretty good. Because of this, I checked the small print on the 1% cashback offer, and I've noticed that you can do it on the ISA too. And so because of that, I decided to instigate a partial transfer of my ISA from iWeb into this, so that I get a load more cash back. And I checked the small print. It's based on the date you instigate it, because the cut-off date was the tax year, so the cut-off date was the 5th of April. So I just checked the small print, and it is based on the date you instigate it, not the date it completes. Yeah, so that's what moved from it. Yeah, basically it's just tax stuff really. I moved GSK 4,000 of GSK in from Invest to the ISA in Trading 212. I sold £3,185 of Scottish mortgage, so that's the last of it that was outside of tax wrappers, and I decided just to balance a bit, and I'm going to credit this, what I've highlighted there, this move that I've done, I'm going to credit that move with what we see in Scottish mortgage today, up 8%, because it was up a decent amount yesterday when I did it, I think. Can't quite remember. Yeah, it had a pretty decent day yesterday anyway. So I'm gonna credit me doing that as why it's gone up by 8% today. Obviously, it's all based on SpaceX. I think the outperformance is all based on SpaceX and the IPO that's happening. But I don't know. I'm kind of bracing myself. I'm taking a little bit off the table and putting it into Acqui, but I've still got a pretty hefty position in it, 9.45% of the whole portfolio. But I am bracing myself for for SpaceX. Doing a Facebook. Obviously, I don't want it to happen, but I'm half expecting it to go plunging once it gets on the stock market. But I'll just hold through it, and hope it doesn't happen, because it's SpaceX is now 19% of Scottish mortgage. They put an RNS out recently, so if SpaceX halved, maybe 10% would be knocked off Scottish mortgage temporarily. But if it did a Facebook, that's not particularly a bad sign, because Facebook went down by half, I think, after its IPO. But obviously, in the long run, it was amazing. If you do the maximum of Meta there, in the long run, it's fantastic. Look, I wonder what is 2012 the date it went public? I don't actually know. Anyway. It did half. Well, look at that. We can see it there, can't we? At the beginning, it's down 40% there. I can't get me mouse to be accurate enough. I don't know if that's the IPO. I don't know if 2012 was the IPO or not. But anyway, you can see what happened to it. But then still a great investment. So if that's what happens to SpaceX, then that'll be fine. Voiceover here. The big difference there is Meta was tiny relatively when it went public. SpaceX is already one of the biggest companies by its official valuation, so that's completely different really. But yeah, anyway, here's the performance attribution from what I mentioned earlier. It seems like all the UK stuff did worse than the general market, didn't it? Which is why I need to get out of this UK stuff really. But yeah, I mean, it's all having a comeback today. And then yeah, just the last tiny bit of Lowland I took out and put it into the total return portfolio. So it was spread amongst the black stuff up here. It was only 1,500 quid, so not a big deal. just getting the last of it out. Oh, and I almost forgot. I've just added that. I moved my Pfizer from the Invest to the ISA as well. Same thing. Made a little bit of a loss on it, so it helps. It helps make that number lower. So there's a little bit of a loss on PFE there. But yeah, it's not a proper loss yet, is it? Because I've repurchased it in the ISA. So if we now look at what's left outside of tax wrappers, those moves yesterday realised 1,460 in capital gains, and I've still got these to do at some point. I'm kind of holding off on selling merchants because I want to use it to put into the LISA. I want to sell that and put it into the black portfolio, the total return portfolio. But obviously there'll be a load left over, so I'll probably do, I don't know, I'll probably put it into Acqui outside of the tax wrappers as well. I'll probably add it to that. Any excess that doesn't go into the LISA when I sell that in a few weeks time, or maybe a couple of months, I'm not sure. I'll probably put the excess into Acqui here. If I can't, we'll see what happens. If there's not room in the other ISAs, because I've already used. We're at 2575 now. If I sold all of merchants, if I did that today, we're getting close to the 3,000 already. We're at 2575. So who knows if this goes up by the time I decide to sell it in a few weeks' time. Well, no, it's not going to be a few weeks. It's going to be, because if I put the cash in the LISA on the 4th or the 5th, it'll end up turning up a few weeks after that. It'll be around this time when I can invest in my LISA. So it's going to be a while. So who knows what might happen to merchants. But you know, so I might end up having to, well, not having to, but I might end up deciding to keep half of this here anyway and just wait until the year after, you know. I mean, if I wanted to reduce my merchant's position, I could do it in the ISA as well, you know. I've only got 9,700 in the ISA. The total position is 26 grand. So I could just do it piecemeal and not breach the 3,000 capital gains tax allowance. Let's have a look. So I've used 12,000 already. So I've only got 4,000 left. So that's why I was talking about putting the merchant's money into Acqui outside of the tax wrappers, because I might have already used this 4 grand here. Yeah. Anyway, oh yeah, the other thing I was considering was I've got cashback fever. I was thinking like the other half of my iWeb ISA that hasn't been transferred, right? Because I didn't mention it, did I? But yeah, the freetrade, I did a partial transfer to the ISA of about 100. Basically, I did all of the index trackers that are in iWeb or Scottish mortgage, Scottish widows now, and it adds up to, I think it adds up to about 140 grand. And I think there's about another 140 grand in iWeb, because I didn't want to put the whole lot in freetrade. I wanted to spread it, or at least keep some in iWeb. But now what I'm thinking now is, I'm thinking I might move the rest of it into IG, because they have here, if it loads, another 1% cashback offer. So I could have 3 ISAs, one in Trading 212, Freetrade, and IG, and I could get cash back on the remainder. And this offer runs until the 31st of May 26. But obviously they give you, I think there is a limit though on the completion date. I think they give you 2 months after that date, because obviously I'd have to wait for my, I don't know if I'd have to, but I think it's best to wait for my Freetrade ISA transfer to finish first before I start transferring the remainder of the iWeb ISA into IG Group. But I think it mentions here somewhere, yeah, it has to be complete 2 months after that deadline. So yeah, there's a limit on the completion date there, as well as the instigation date. And obviously similar like rules, you can't just like empty the ISA within a year and still expect to get the cash back. So yeah, I've been thinking about this one. This one is similar, there's no fractional shares, but again, all that stuff I do, if I sell something like to pay myself an income, like I do here, you know, each month, I can just sell the full shares in Freetrade or IG, and then just do whatever I need left over, whatever small fractional amount I need, I can just do in trading 212. So it's it's no big deal. And I'm so close to having nothing outside of tax wrappers that I can just pay myself from the ISAs without it like being missed, if you like. I don't need to just leave the cash lingering in ISAs. Yeah, so I'm thinking once the free trade transfer's done, I'll go for this offer. Up to a maximum of £5,000, not a problem. What would it add? I think before I started recording this video, I added it up, and I think it would be about 140 grand. So yeah, about 1,400 quid. And I think I should be getting a similar amount from free trade once that transfer happens. Yeah, so there's my thoughts. I'm in quite a bit of a dilemma about how long to wait before I transfer these three into the total return portfolio. All right, I think that's all I've got to say. I'll see you next time. Have fun. Bye bye.